This is a call out to my friends and family on Facebook and on YouTube to help me bring to light the despicable actions of Service Corporation International, the Dignity Company, who operates at Mountain View Cemetery in San Bernardino, California. This video is going to go over my experience with attempting to get this document, which took me several months and was given to me after I threatened to turn them in for deceptive trade practices. It's opened my eyes as to the need for reform at Mountain View Mortuary and Cemetery in San Bernardino, California. This is the tale of me trying to get my mother's cremains placed with my father's burial from 1970. I need your help in spreading this video around. At the end of the video, I'll have some contact information so you can contact the corporate office and the people involved, and let's see if we can't get this despicable behavior corrected. I'd like you to meet my mother, Joanne. This is her about 12 years old. Here she is, between 16 and 17. She got married. She left high school, not because she had to, and she married the love of her life, Floyd Mac Flatt, who is my father, who was known as Tony. He's a seaman apprentice in the United States Coast Guard. They would be stationed in Port Angeles, Washington. In 1957, they wanted a large family, and this is the start. My brother Tony is right inside here. He would be born within the month. This is July of 57. There's Mom, Dad, and my aunts, my mom's younger sisters. My parents had the family that they wanted. They wanted 6 children. Here I am here. Here's Tony, Mike, David, Mary, Becky, Mom, and Dad. It was a much different time back then. Dad was the sole breadwinner. Mom stayed home and raised the kids. Mom never got a GED, never learned how to drive. Little did they know that in late 1969, early 1970, my father would develop a cerebral aneurysm, and it would put him in the intensive care unit for 9 months. The whole family split up. My mother stayed by his side for 9 months, sleeping in the hospital room in a chair or sometimes in an empty bed. We lived with aunts and uncles, and my father finally passed away the day after his 35th birthday. The family had to file bankruptcy and many other things prior to his death, and a family member, my father's uncle, had an unused grave space because he had remarried and gave my mom this space to use to put my father at rest. He's at Mountain View Cemetery in San Bernardino. He's in a traditional casketed burial inside of a concrete vault in a lawn-type setting. So my mom became an LVN a couple years after the death. She got her GED, learned how to drive, and became an LVN. This is about 1978. I'm in the United States Navy, home on leave. And you can see she's done a great job of raising her family. She works 2 jobs, 2 nursing jobs, most of her career. This is about 2016. My mom is frail. Here I am back here. There's Tony, Mike, David, Mary, and Becky. And I had asked Mom, when your time comes, what do you want to do? And she had told me several times that she really regretted spending the kind of money she was pressured into when she buried my father. And she said, just put me in the compost bin. I go, Mom, I can't put you in a compost bin. How do you feel about cremation? She said that was fine. So in 2017, when my mother passed away, we had her cremated. My brother Mike built a beautiful urn for her, and we had a celebration of life. These are my siblings. Here I am here. Here's Tony, Mike, David, Mary, and Becky. All of our friends and family came out. We had a great celebration of life. But now the goal is to what can we do with Mom's ashes? Can we put the remains in my father's grave space that was bought and paid for in 1930 by my father's uncle, who then let my mother use the space? There's 2 feet of soil between the surface and the concrete vault, what would it take to put my mom's cremains here, take this headstone, replace it, put this photo of them there, and put both their names on it. So in 2012, I started the conversation with the folks at Mountain View Mortuary and Cemetery, where my father's at rest. And I talked to Mr. George Gomez on February the 15th of 2012 regarding the family's lots. So they give me a total cost to place the urn in the above location is $2,555. That price was for February 15th of 2012. Now, my mom didn't pass away until June of 2017. Let's look at what the cost is now. So I called him back up when my mother passed away. I had done some work to find my second cousin and had all that started. Mr. Gomez was no longer at that location. My person I was contacting was going to be Mr. Jack Hayes. He's a family service counselor there. Now, Mr. Hayes is not a salaried position, strictly commission. Everything he sells, he gets a piece of. Everything that he sells, his supervisor, Kathy Cortez, gets a piece of. So by this time, I'm asking for a price list and an interment authorization form. I have my second cousin online, and we're getting ready to make this thing happen. And I don't get a price list, and I don't get an authorization form. But what I get is a note saying, okay, listen, we'll sell you a second right of interment for $3,697. To open and close, it's going to be $1,395. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you what it takes to open and close a regular casketed grave space. But we're talking about a small urn, wooden urn, for cremains. We're talking less than 1 cubic foot. And they want to charge me $1,395. They're going to give me the option of a vault. They add in the price of a marker, because I told them, hey, I want to redo the marker, and they want to charge me $500 to put a granite marker in the ground, contingent on the other thing. So altogether, he's willing to help out our family for $6,862. Taxes and fees not reflected, prices subject to change. So now I've got a ballpark, but wait a minute, this is a whole lot more. The price has almost doubled since the last time I asked to see a price list. When challenged to present to me a price list, he comes back with a revised price list. Now, he still wants to sell me a second right of interment. I honestly believe that we own the space. My cousin Valerie is the legal owner, but she's talking with me. They want to sell me a second interment right for $3,697 for a piece of property that was bought and paid for in 1930. Now, the opening and closing price went from $13.95 and it's dropped to $8.95. But again, this $8.95 is to dig a 1 square foot hole, approximately 2 feet deep. Outrageous. They want to give me, they'll sell me an urn vault, a fiberglass box for $300, and they'll put that thing in the ground for $195. Because I'm such a good sport, they're going to discount it $1,000. So now we're down to $4,082. I made it very clear to him that I'm not in a hurry, that my father was a veteran, and I can easily put my mother in the VA cemetery, but I'd really like to see about getting the two of them together. Would you please send me a price list? I want the price list. He refused. So here's an email I had Jack Hayes sent me on June 24th. He received an email from Kathy Cortez, his supervisor, on June 23rd when I said, hey, I need a price list and interment authorization form. I'm insistent that I want the price list, and I want to know who the consumer people are in California who oversee funeral homes. I'm preparing to file a complaint because I'm not getting what is due to me by the Federal Trade Commission. And so they send me a link to this, and they tell me the cemetery price list is an internal document. They refuse to give me the price list. This is in violation of the Federal Trade Commission. Do they really think that I'm that stupid? This is again on June 23rd. I finally get a hold of Miss Kathy Cortez. I explained to her that for all practical purposes, I'm a cemeterian, that I am on the board of the Masonic Cemetery here in town. I own a family cemetery in West Texas, that I have been studying and making a practice of knowing cemeteries for close to 20 years now. I actually go to some of the International Cemetery and Cremation Funeral Association workshops, go to week-long workshops. I understand the sales techniques that her company is using because I trained with the same people that trained them. And she's adamant that she's not going to give me the price list. And then after threatening to turn them in, she says, well, per our conversation earlier in the week, I've attached our cemetery price list in good faith. So as a consumer, what rights do you have when you have an issue with a funeral or cemetery provider? In the state of California, you can contact the Department of Consumer Affairs. And this is the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau. You can get this form right offline. It is a complaint form. I am going to be filling this out, providing in detail copies of emails and conversations that I had, and letting them know that this cemetery is involved in deceptive trade practices as outlined by the Federal Trade Commission in the 1984 reform, where if I ask for a price list, they are required by law to give it to me. Another place to go is the Attorney General, State of California, consumer complaint against a business or corporation. Now, the corporation that operates this is Service Corporation International, and they are actually housed here in Houston, Texas. I live in Austin, but the Attorney General of California will be more than happy to find out that there may be deceptive trade practices going on at Mountain View Cemetery. I'm very familiar with the Attorney General's office here in Texas. I will be filing a complaint here. I live in Austin, which is the state capital. This office is literally a 10-minute drive from my home. Houston is a 3-hour drive. I intend on making some posters and going out in front of SCI and protesting. I've called them twice. They refuse to answer my phone calls or emails. Back to the state of California. Every state is different, but this is an endowment care cemetery, Mountain View is, and they have to file a special care and fund report every year with the state of California. Through open records, I can get a copy of this form. What is very clear to me is that Mountain View is only putting in the bare minimum allowed by law into the endowment care fund for this cemetery. A cemetery is the only piece of property you sell once, but you're expected to maintain forever. I'm going to start picking this form apart once I get it. It is a 30-page form. It's going to give me the fiduciaries. It's going to give me the names of the board of directors. It's going to give me all kinds of information, which I can contact people and let them know exactly what these employees are up to at their San Bernardino office. But you can see that I've already started my Public Records Act request for the Endowment Care and Special Care Fund report for Mountain View Cemetery, located at 570 East Highland Avenue, San Bernardino. If we share this video around, perhaps we'll get the local news stations involved, and we'll start taking a good hard look at SCI, or Service Corporation International Dignity, to ensure that they are managing this cemetery's endowment care fund properly, so it doesn't turn up to be like a new subdivision for a homeowners association the minute they sell the last piece of property, although they will have money in endowment care fund, or perhaps they go bankrupt and the state is left with an inadequate endowment care fund to manage the cemetery in the long term. This is what I do. This is my hobby. This is what I've been studying for a better part of 20 years, working with the city of Austin for our historic cemeteries. So when staff lies to me and tells me I don't understand, this video is for you folks over here at the cemetery to let you know that I actually do understand, probably far better than you do, as a salesman working at a cemetery, most likely taking advantage of good people. Hang on, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, here's where you can help me out. Here is the address and the phone number for Mountain View Cemetery. This is the price list they gave me, and they wanted to make sure that I knew that it was effective on this date. Again, most businesses have a price list, and it's good for a year or whatever, but it's funny how all of a sudden the price list was effective the day that I asked for it, essentially. And so call 909-882-2943 or stop by if you're in the San Bernardino area and merely go in and ask for a copy of the price list. Get the name of the person you talked to and keep track of, did they give you a price list or not? Here's the SCI Corporation contact us from their website. Their corporate offices in Houston, Texas. General inquiries at SCI-US.com. Media relations, acquisitions and diversities, investor relations, transfer agent. There's nothing on here about complaints, customer service, nothing. They don't want to hear from you, but they're going to hear from me, and I hope to hear from you as well. You can go to general inquiries at SCI-US.com. Send them a nice email. Give them a link to this video.